compared to what you have?
It's a lot of stuff is a lot easier. My ex actually had a Gladiator on 37s in a lift, and for a while, when my rear diff was giving me issues, there was throwing some codes, but it was like national back order for like 9 months or something stupid. We'd always go out in her Gladiator, and so
Oh, this is
like
great. I'm glad you have some actual like Gladiator Wrangler experience. This means a lot.
yeah, yep. So I've probably spent close to a year where I didn't take my Cherokee out because I didn't have a reliable four-wheel drive,
Right.
and we were always going out in her Gladiator.
And you said it was on 37s?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you that was fun. Did she give you a hard time about your Trailhawk? I bet you she liked
Um,
driving it though. Whenever she was going
she
places long distance.
she didn't she didn't really give me too much of a hard time. Every now and again, we'd joke about not getting waves and stuff like that. Anytime we were riding together, and I'd wave at a Jeep and nothing, I wouldn't get anything back. She would just laugh, or we'd be in her Gladiator and she'd get a wave, and I'm like, "Come on!" She'd just laugh, but she
Now you
didn't.
said this was your ex, right?
Yes,
Did
this is
did
my ex.
did she break up with you because of the Trailhawk? This interview episode is brought to you by Tyree Off-Road Lights for people that need to get shit done. Visit tyreoffroad.com right now. That's TYRI offroad.com. All right, boys and girls, we're here for another Jeep Talk Show interview, and we're going to be talking with Jason. Jason started off-roading when he bought his first brand new 2017 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk. Many adventures, 2 Jeeps, and a YouTube channel. Later, he has offering trail guide service, hoping to turn his passion into a career. Now, you can go over and follow along on all this. Not necessarily the show notes, but you can follow along on Jason's website at I can barely read that. GoFearlessAdventures.com. It's not your fault. It's my fault. I just got it too small on the screen. GoFearlessAdventures.com. All right, Jason, I didn't warn you before. I am a real Jeep owner, so I'm going to be asking you questions about the non-real Jeep and what I call Ginos, Jeep in name only. So I didn't warn you, but I suspect you kind of knew this was going to happen anyway.
Hashtag Fiats.
Yes. Well, I mean, you can pick apart any Jeep, can't you? Because it's had so many manufacturers.
Well, for a while, even the Cherokee held the title of the most American-made vehicle because it was like 95% constructed parts and labor in America. So that was one nice thing we had for a little bit until February 2 years ago. They canned that factory.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. It seems to me the very safest thing. Now, if I read the intro correctly, this is your first Jeep.
This is actually my. So I've had 3 now. I had a 2017. I have the one that was at the expo was my 2019, and then I also have a 21 Grand.
But all Cherokee. Oh, sorry. So you have Cherokee and a Grand Cherokee.
Yes.
Okay. So the absolute easiest thing to do in Jeeping would be to buy a Wrangler or even a Gladiator, but you didn't go that route. Why did you go with? I mean, and I say the easiest thing to do is because you get less shit. People, you're more accepted, and also too, there's just so many more aftermarket suppliers for the quote unquote real Jeeps. And I'm not trying to bust your balls about this. I'm just saying, I'm just talking like, what most Jeepers do. So why was this not a tough way for you to go? Did you do it on purpose? Because it's like,
yes, I
screw you guys.
I hate how solid axles drive. I travel a lot. Before I had the Jeep, me and my brother would go on destination trips, and we would go fly to California and hike all sorts of trails or wherever. So we were always just going places and hiking, or sometimes we'd drive. So before I got my first Cherokee, we just had beater cars or whatever. Okay, like once I get something, it's going to be something that we're going to drive across the country. And so I really don't like how the solid axles drive on the highway. And that was one of the primary things. It was going to be my daily driver. I'm going to drive across the country. I didn't really consider Jeeping at the time. But once I got it, I joined a couple Facebook groups, and then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I'm addicted to off-roading.
So you know why solid axles are better off-road, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had any problems with your IFS taking it off-road?
I haven't had any of the axles go bad. The only thing I've had is the rear diff, the planetaries or something in there is grenading.
Really? That's
So
interesting.
I've never had any issues with the CVs.
Okay. And I think that's one of the things that I've never had a IFS vehicle, especially Jeep. But one of the things about IFS that I've always heard is they can be strong, but if you make them strong, they're very expensive.
Yes.
And where a solid axle is, it's just like it's the illiterate guy that can lift 700 pounds down the street. He don't have to be smart. But he can lift the 700 pounds. It's just so the solid axle is just cheap and near bulletproof. I mean, you can just destroy anything. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of us Jeepers like the idea of solid axles. But ride quality is certainly important to some people. I always say if you're concerned about the ride, buy a Cadillac. This is off-road shit. It's going to be bumpy, but it makes sense because that's the way you started. You didn't start off-roading. You started, well, I wanted comfort. I want comfort as I'm driving down the road. So it absolutely makes sense.
And it was because my brother's also a photographer, and there's a lot of different places in some of the national parks that you have to have a 4x4 to get to some of those locations. And so I wanted something that could still get to some of those locations. We haven't been there yet, but like the racetrack in Death Valley and stuff like that. So that was part of the reason why I got the Trailhawk. He has Xterra Pro 4X, which was also the reason he got that was so we could get to different places in the parks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then so I had this. I'm like, well, it's a Jeep, and people take Jeeps off road, and I might as well see if I can join a Jeep club. And then they went on a trail ride one spring, and I'm like, hey, would you mind? I mean, before I found that club, it was probably 6 or 7 months into owning the Jeep before I did anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found Mojo, and they were like, yeah, you can come. You might have to get pulled a few times, but as long as you're okay with that, I'm like, sure, I guess. I'm not too proud for it.
I don't know if all the Cherokees, but I know the Trailhawk has tow points. So getting pulled wouldn't be a problem.
No, it's got legitimate frame tied tow points that are nice and solid.
Jeep knows how to build a Jeep, even if it's not what we would consider to be 100% Jeep. They still know how to build a Jeep. So I have no doubt it's a capable off-road rig. It's just you're limited. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't done a lot of research on this. I think the Trailhawk comes with a 1-inch lift, and so,
yep.
And you're kind of stuck there. There may be aftermarket now that's a 2-inch or so.
You can add about 2 inches on top of that before you start having many issues. I'm at about 2.5 inches.
Oh, nice.
Extra. So I go through CVs about every year and a half or so. I'm replacing at least one of the CVs because they start ticking.
Sure. Because the angle, if everybody doesn't
just
understand,
outside of that operating angle.
Yeah, the angle gets higher as the vehicle goes up. Do they make anything that allows you to lower the what do you call the differential portion?
Yeah.
So
there is one company. One company makes a rear subframe drop, which drops the rear down, and then that would then correct the angles in the back. But one of the benefits to mine versus the Wrangler is I don't have a pumpkin.
Oh,
my lowest point is the bottom of my control arms right near my
nice.
tires.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good ground clearance.
I don't have to worry about stuff directly in the center. So I'm not a huge fan of that subframe drop because all of a sudden you lift it, but then you drop the rear diff back down, and
it negates the reason.
Sticking out.
Yeah, it negates the reason for lifting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting. So now have you ridden in a Wrangler or a traditional off-road Jeep? Or have you? Okay. So other than it being rougher, which I'm sure it was, what did you think compared to what you have?
It's a lot of stuff is a lot easier. My ex actually had a Gladiator on 37s in a lift. And for a while, when my rear diff was giving me issues, they was throwing some codes, but it was like national back order for like 9 months or something stupid. We'd always go out in her Gladiator. And so,
Oh, this is
like,
great. I'm glad you have some actual like Gladiator Wrangler experience. This means a lot.
yeah, yep. So I probably spent close to a year where I didn't take my Cherokee out because I didn't have a reliable four-wheel drive,
Right.
and we were always going out in her Gladiator.
And you said it was on 37s?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you that was fun. Did she give you a hard time about your Trailhawk? I bet you she liked
Um,
driving it though. Whenever she was going
she
places long distance.
she didn't she didn't really give me too much of a hard time. Every now and again, we'd joke about not getting waves and stuff like that. Anytime we were riding together, and I'd wave at a Jeep and nothing, I wouldn't get anything back. She would just laugh, or we'd be in her Gladiator and she'd get a wave, and I'd be like, "Come on!" She'd just laugh, but she
Now you
didn't.
said this was your ex, right?
Yes,
Did
this is
did
my ex.
did she break up with you because of the Trailhawk? You can be
She did
honest.
not know. No, that was not the reason.
I just can't deal with this anymore.
Right?
Well, I mean, and this is funny. I have a Gladiator as well, 2021 Gladiator. And the cool thing about Gladiators is it looks like a Wrangler. So you get the Jeep
Yes.
wave. And then as they drive by, I go, oh, damn it, that's a truck. I negate my Jeep wave.
There was so much hate in the Jeep groups from all the like, oh, you had to take my Jeep card away. I accidentally waved at a Gladiator.
It's so funny. So it's not just, I mean, you rather feel good that it's not just the Cherokee. It's all,
Yeah.
it can be Jeeps that are, 99% Wranglers that still get crap dealt off
Yeah.
for them. Okay, well, really cool. So I think it's great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing things the way you want to do them, and I think you had a good reason for going the direction you went. But I have to ask this: the Bronco was an option at the time, wasn't it? Why didn't you go with Bronco?
When I initially got the Jeeps, it wasn't an option yet. But
Oh, okay.
while I was looking for the Grand, uh, my rear diff on the Cherokee's gone out 3, 4 times now. And so after one of those, it's a bad part. They actually have a big recall for it now
Okay,
because
so it wasn't anything you were doing to it,
yeah, there's a reason it was on a national back order for 9 months.
right? Oh, okay, because everybody
There's
needed one,
engineering, they just something in there isn't quite right.
right?
But or just too weak or something. There's people that didn't even go off road that had the rear diffs go out on them.
Right.
But while all that was happening, I was sitting there like, Team Bronco, maybe. I don't know. I even toyed. I got one of the little Bronco TRX RC trucks, the rock crawler trucks,
Right.
and I put a little teaser video up from that. While
Yeah.
I was like, well, the Cherokee's broken, so I guess I'll just drive my new electric daily driver, and did a little video with that. I actually lost subscribers on my YouTube channel because
That's
some
funny.
people didn't even watch the video. They just saw the thumbnail and saw it was a Bronco, and they're like, "Oh, Bronco!" Like, I'm like,
Wow.
"Okay, it's a toy.
Yes, that's
Like,
so
just
funny.
watch the video. It's a toy."
Yeah, we here on the show, it was it was close to April 1st, many years ago, and we told everybody we were ending the show. We were pod fading because we just didn't have the audience that we were thinking that we were going to have. And I've even played the Happy Trails, the old Western Happy Trails to You, and we ended the show, and people were like, "No, no."
I even did do that too.
Did you?
Took a picture because my brother ended up being on a trip or something, so he took his truck. His truck is the garage queen, so I never get to park in the garage. It's only him.
Mm-hmm.
And so every so often when he's off on a trip, I'll take a picture of my Jeep in the garage. I'm like, look who got to park in the garage. And so it had just snowed or something, and my brother was on a trip. And then I found this picture of a white Bronco in a garage that looked similar to mine, that had some snow or whatever on. I'm like, glad to keep my new vehicle out of the weather. And the picture ended up having the license plate on it, which I didn't scrub out or anything. And apparently, I didn't notice at the time, but the license plate was from Alaska. So if you really looked at the video, you could tell it wasn't.
Well, you just got
I
it from.
did that on April 1st, and I had a bunch of people again were like, "Oh, why'd you get a?" And then some people were like, that's from Alaska."
And then you just say, well, Facebook Marketplace had a great sale in Alaska,
Right?
and it was worth
I
it.
actually was like, I could have got it. You never know.
That's
and then
right.
my brother was like, everyone, look at the date. Just look at the date.
So I figured
Never trust anything on the internet.
I figured you were going to say you put it up on social media, and your brother immediately said, "Get that car out of my garage. You're not supposed to be in there. That's my spot."
No, he doesn't mind when I park in there when he's on the trips. He
okay, good. You have a different kind of brother.
I move it before he gets home.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. All right. Well, that's really good. So I think we've covered it. Is there, what modifications have you made to either or both to help make it better for off-roading? I mean, you mentioned you have like 2.5 inches of lift. Is it a total of 3.5 to that inch?
From the other trims, it would end up being about 3.5 because the
That's
Trailhawk
huge. That would be huge for a Trailhawk, wouldn't it?
It's a fair bit. But yeah, the Trailhawk does have the extra inch over the other trims, but this is 2.5 on top of the Trailhawk's factory.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone back and forth between different variations of. Initially, I had the Dobinson's shocks and struts with the springs, and then I put like a 1-inch lift on top of that to bring it up around 2.5. And then when I got the winch bumper, I put the heavy springs. They got HD springs up front. I have the HD springs in the rear already. So that gave it a tiny little bit more bump in the front. And then I sheared one of the Dobinson struts, which I guess a few other people that actually off-road theirs have had issues with the struts shearing off.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I bought some Bilstein's struts and shocks all around because the Dobinsons were also starting to squeak some. And so I replaced the struts and shocks with the Bilsteins, but I left the Dobinson springs on. So I have the softer Dobinson springs up front and then the HD springs in the rear.
This has to make the ride rougher.
It is a little bit. I mean, it's a spring lift, so it is a little bit rougher. I personally prefer a little bit rougher, especially as a daily. I like the kind of like sporty.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Suspension.
Yeah, I do too. That's one of the things I like about the Jeep. Is this modifications you made yourself, or did you have a shop do it, or a combination?
Initially, I had a shop do the initial install because I just like every time I would go to touch it, a little 45-minute job would turn into like 8 hours later, and I have to try and figure out how to put it back together so I can drive the next day.
Oh yeah, that's
still not done with the job.
That's all part of it.
Still having to pay a shop to do it. So that's usually my experience when I was working on it. So I was like, okay, I'll have a shop do it, and then it took them. I think they put 2.5 days of labor into trying to put this lift on. It was just replace the shocks and struts and add a little spacer collar. And that's all it was. But it took them 3.5 days to do it.
It doesn't make you feel so bad about that 8-hour job, does it?
Yeah. I went to pick it up and they're like, oh, this was terrible. I'm like, sorry. Yeah. I'd rather you do it than me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, see, I what I'm learning here is that you don't have a quote unquote real Jeep, but you have the Jeep sickness, where you have to make the modifications. You have to buy this extra stuff, and you buy things twice because this didn't work out. I want to do this instead. Yeah, so you definitely have the Jeep sickness. So welcome to the family.
Yeah. So then I've got the lift, which is kind of a hodgepodge of different company stuff.
Oh yeah, most of them are.
And then all the skid plates are all factory, and they're actually pretty decent, thick steel skid plates. I do have the rock sliders from Rocky Road Outfitters.
Perfect.
Got their super sliders, so it sticks out from the door a little bit. Gives me the extra comfort room when I'm like going into trees or whatnot, that it will hit that slider and not my door.
I like it for door dings too, when you're parking in a parking lot. And
yes, I have no fear parking close to someone, because if they're going to try and slam their door open, they're going to end up with damage in their door, and
That's
I'm going
right.
to be like
And
laughing
yours
at them.
is shh, and it's done.
I just rattle can,
Right.
cover it back up, and
So it's just hilarious. All right, so now I think we've covered how you why you got the Cherokee Trailhawk, and how you got the Bug, and made quite a few modifications to to your Trailhawk. Now, how did you get started in Fearless Adventures? What was the idea behind that? Other than I'm just going to guess, getting people to pay you for going off road and having fun.
yes, yes, that was part of it. It was actually the catalyst for it. It's always kind of been an idea in the back of my head. I've always like been hosting rides. I even hosted a
Oh,
couple
okay.
like Trailhawk only rides, like back in the day. And one time I
That's
think
good, because I'm
we had
sure a
like
lot of Trailhawks would like to go off road, but they don't want to take all the damage from
yes,
the other individuals.
yes. So for a while I would host like usually about two Trailhawk rides a year. Sometimes I'd squeeze in another one. But then Rona happened and everyone got all freaked out. And then I kind of like, and then my Jeep stopped working and then I just didn't host rides. trying to get back into it and get more people. But at one point, one of the rides I had, I think 12 Trailhawks. So
Nice.
that was pretty fun. I got a nice picture of us like all lined up in this uh, off the sandbar in this creek, and there's like 14 of us lined up down here to take a really nice picture. So it was cool. But the catalyst for the trail guide service was actually um, oddly back to my ex. She went with one of the guys that's kind of local to me that started his own trail guide service. He initially started like me with free rides, and then he started charging, they were always full, so he charged like 25 bucks and then 50 bucks. And now he's charging something like 150, 175, $200 for all these rides. And she was like, well, I mean, we could do that. Like that would be something we could do. And you're a good trail guide, so we should try and look into that. And then I started doing some of the math. I looked at his page and I was looking at how much he was charging and how many rides he was doing. I'm like, this could be a thing. Like
Hmm.
this really could be a thing. So after that, I started looking into what I needed to do to get my LLC and all that stuff.
Was there insurance that you had to have for
Um, right
being
now,
responsible for
because
the guiding people?
I've talked to a couple of different trail guides, and the consensus right now is there actually isn't any like trail guide like
Insurance? Yeah.
insurance
Hmm.
that if I was doing other things, there's different insurances, but there's no insurance that'll kind of cover like the trail guide type
Hmm.
stuff. So we're still kind of in the pioneer area of like I'm taking my rig, you're taking your rig type stuff.
Well, you're
If it
doing it under
was,
the LLC, right?
yeah,
So there's some protection there.
yeah. But like if it was I'm renting vehicles to you, then there's insurances for those for
Hmm.
all that if I was that kind of trail guide. But because I'm just basically a tour guide, I'm not even like I'm just showing you where to go on these trails. So so far there isn't any mainstream insurance that will cover like off-road trail guides.
Well, we shouldn't even brought this up now, because now somebody's going to sue you. He's not insured. I can get his Trailhawk. So where are some of the places that you've gone? Where are some of the places you're planning on going, and perhaps the place you're really looking forward to going to?
Um, so I've gone all across the country. My Cherokee has touched beach gravel in Maine, doing the Bar Harbor Sandbar, which was really cool. I want to go back to that again. Then it's also touched beach sand all the way down in SoCal, off of like Huntington Beach and all that area. So that and did a couple trails down there. I really want to go back down there and explore. There's so much stuff in SoCal to explore. It's just so open.
Hmm.
Like that was mind-boggling to me. Like there's just you can just go everywhere.
Hmm.
You can go between whole towns for hours and hours without ever touching pavement.
Yeah.
But I've done Moab, quite a few times, Colorado quite a few times around Ouray. But that's probably my favorite spot is Ouray is one of my favorite places to go just because it's just amazing. The trails aren't like hard, but the scenery
The
is just
scenery, yeah.
spectacular.
Well, that's kind of like Moab. I mean, you can find difficult places in Moab to go, but generally speaking, you're wheeling on sandpaper. So
Yes,
it's pretty good
as
traction
long as it's
wise.
not raining.
Yeah. Well, I've only been there twice. I did travel through Colorado a bit, on the way from southeast Texas to Moab. So, and
Mhm.
just that little bit of Colorado was stunning. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to go to Colorado. I want to go to Arizona, maybe New Mexico. I think some desert wheeling would be fun.
Hmm.
But Colorado is definitely on the list.
I just did the Arizona and Texas Badge of Honor trails this past summer, and Crown King was also really fun. It's just that's a long day. Like you're committed to like a 12-hour day doing that trail.
So when you've trail guided, and I would imagine you've taken some people off road in their Cherokees that had never been off road before. And is it
Oh yeah.
Cherokees or just Trailhawks or a combination of either?
Usually it's been I've only had one not Trailhawk on any of the rides that I've done. There was a one of the actual Mojo Club rides. We went down to Bear Wallow in West Virginia, and one of the guys brought his limited. And going back and going over some of those trails again a couple years later, I'm like, how did we get his limited over some of this stuff? Because it had eroded a little bit more since then.
Right.
But I'm going up this trail, I'm like, how? Like I think he had like a 1 inch lift or something. But yeah, there's been a couple times where I've had the lower trim levels, but usually, at least on my Trailhawk rides, they need to have the low range and then they need to have tow points, regardless
Oh, I think tow
of
points would
what
be
it is.
absolutely. I mean, even if it
Because
was a
I'm not trying to
Prius.
pull on something without a legitimate tow point.
No, absolutely. Do you have winch on there, or are you just doing tow straps?
On the Cherokee, I now have a winch. I have a winch for the Grand that's sitting in the closet right now, waiting to get put on. But unfortunately, I also busted my headlight last year, trying to weave between some trees. I've been trying to find a discounted OEM headlight or something to replace that one with.
Yeah.
But to replace the headlight, I have to take the whole bumper cover off. But when I put this winch plate on, if I have to take the bumper cover off after I put the winch plate on, I have to take the whole front of the winch plate off
Yeah, just
to get
do
the
it
bumper
once.
cover off.
Yeah, just do it
So
once.
I've just been delaying putting that winch on because I don't want to have to deal with taking that whole thing on and off.
Right. Well, you certainly do some wheeling. I mean, if you're busting headlamps and going places where a different trim level would have a hard time doing, so that's very interesting, and it sounds very Jeepy. And I forgive me for saying this because I have it in my mind, what the Cherokees are, the Trailhawks are, and if it's a nice smooth road and it happens to be non-paved, then that's off road. But it sounds like you're doing some pretty good stuff as far as navigating a shelf. What kind of shelf height can you navigate? And do you have any possibility of removing bumpers, removing the plastic cover on the bumpers, or have you replaced those?
On the Cherokee, I've actually made little plates that go up underneath
Nice.
that because there's like this aluminum like tube that sticks like a impact bar crash tube or something that sticks straight out. And I've actually like worn holes in the front bumper from rubbing that on stuff. So then I made these little plates that go into that and have a plate that comes down. So that way I don't tear that out anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but it still rubs on the bumper. So like my front bumper is kind of held up by zip ties and a couple pieces of
Yeah,
duct tape,
yeah.
like up into the subframe.
Yeah, I know
And
what
it's
I'm talking
just
about
pouring
here because
crap.
those are for just facades that go over a metal, some sort of metal thing in there, and they can pop
Yeah.
off. They're made to pop off very easily. And I could just see somebody going off road and not taking that into account, and it's like, oh, you got to take the bumper and stick it in the back seat.
The Cherokee's got a lot of little clips on it, so it's a lot harder to pull the bumper off. You can pull the clips out the back side of it where it attaches towards the wheel well, but on the whole front side, it's really well attached.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody make an aftermarket bumper to replace all that stuff and make it more off-roady?
There was one company that made a really nice bumper for the Gen 1. So in 2018, Jeep redesigned the Cherokee KL and completely redid the front end and some of the engine compartment and a few other components. So there's the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. There was a company called Expedition 1 had a really amazing bumper that they had made for the Gen 1. But and it came out like right before the Jeep redesigned everything.
Of course.
Yes. And so a lot of people were posting about that. I'm like, man, that would be awesome. But they didn't have a Gen 2 version.
Right.
And they toyed with it for a hot second, and then they just said, no, we're not going to do it.
Well, it's how many people are going to buy it and how much time and effort are you putting into it for maybe not very good sales.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So unfortunately, there's nothing really like a full metal bumper for the Gen 2 Cherokees. But for the Grand, there's all sorts of options for metal bumpers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that was kind of nice about adding the Grand is the aftermarket support for the Grand is like light years better than
Interesting.
Than the Cherokee.
And what model Grand is that? I mean, what's the two-letter designator?
The WK2.
WK2. Okay. Well, very nice. Okay. So, so I'm having fun talking to you about the Cherokee Trailhawk, but getting back to Fearless Adventures, which is your business. So, when's your next run?
My next run is here on March 15th. I'm doing a local run around some of our county trails, old county roads. Then March 22nd, we're going over to Badlands in Indiana. Put around there and have some fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, you say local. Tell people what local is.
Local to me is Ohio. Vinton County, Ohio is around like the Chillicothe, Hocking Hills area. It's kind of south central Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Is it too late to get in on this?
Nope. You can sign up for those at any point up until we leave the parking lot.
Nice.
So
you can pull up to the parking lot, look really sad, and say, "Can I please go?" And you say, "Yeah, sure."
yes, you can.
And again, go fearlessadventures.com. I'm having a hard time seeing that, so make sure I get that right. Go fearlessadventures.com is the website to go. Is there a better place to contact or find out about the rides, or is there payment? And if so, how much do these cost? Maybe not specifically, but generally.
I post all of them on Facebook as well under Fearless Adventures on Facebook. Then I have all of my paid rides are going through Eventbrite. So yeah, there's a link on the Facebook page or on the Facebook events to go to Linkbrite to purchase the tickets. Generally, my rides are $50 or $75, depending on what it is. I am hosting a week-long trip out in around Ouray, Colorado, and that one is $250. So that'd be like $50 a day if you want to do all 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, what does the money buy you besides your shining personality?
It's really just my expertise on the trails. I've spent a lot of time driving these trails, learning where to go. I've spotted a lot of different rigs through it, a lot of different obstacles. So it's that, and if you have trouble, if you break down, I'll be there to help it. I had a guy went out with me to Moab last year. He ended up breaking. He had one of the new WL 4xEs, the Grand Cherokee 4xEs, and he ended up breaking apart on Elephant Hill. And we ended up spending that week driving him back and forth, making sure he was taken care of. And so that's part of what it is you have someone that's there to make sure you get taken care of, not left behind, making sure you get off the trail, making sure you can get home. But it's just the confidence of having someone there that knows what they're doing.
Oh yeah, that's plenty. I just want to make sure if there was anything that you wanted to highlight that we could do that. So as far as the trail guiding thing, is it you in front of the line and people following you and maybe talking on the radio, or do people sometimes request spotting where they may need to get you to, or somebody, I don't know that you work by yourself, but somebody to spot them.
For when I started it, I was by myself, so it was a little harder. I'd have to pull forward, and if someone needed spotted, I have them stop and let me get out and go back to them.
Right.
But now my current girlfriend, I'll have her drive the Jeep forward and let everyone, like sometimes I'll even have her drive through the obstacle. I'll spot her through, and then I'll spot everyone else through.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does everybody understand how difficult it is to spot a loved one? Because the loved one doesn't want to pay attention, and you just want them to just do what I'm telling you, damn it.
She's been pretty good with it. She's like, every time.
Oh yeah, of course you got to say that in case she listens.
Oh, she actually is. She's like, I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just watching your hands and listening to what you tell me to do. I'm not doing anything else. I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do. Yes,
that's absolutely right. So, does she also have a real Jeep, or what's her primary vehicle?
She does not. She actually drives a Toyota Yaris.
Ah, okay. I think that's one that my eldest son had looked at several years ago. I don't know much about those cars out there. I'm definitely a Jeeper. Well, very, very cool. So, what do you guys use for communication? Is it GMRS, CB, or?
Yes,
GMRS?
we use the GMRS radios. I've got a couple different sets of the Midland handhelds, but in each of the Jeeps, I have one of their mobile base station units, and those are game changers because the range on those is ridiculous. One of the rides I led for Mojo, just because of how it ended up that day, we had 50 Jeeps on the one ride.
My goodness.
And in the woods, on the trails, I held comms with my tail gunner. So that right there tells me everything I need to know about what radio to choose, because having that micromobile base station, I could hear everyone could hear me, and it was
external antenna makes a huge difference. Yes. Even if you're in a Wrangler with a hard top, it's fiberglass, it still negates the signal. So having that external antenna is huge.
And that one was I was just using the little stock magnetic one that they have. It's only like 6 inches tall, but put it on top of the Jeep, and I didn't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I highly recommend a wired a mobile radio, and always run the power to the battery.
Yes.
It's always the right way to go. Even if it's CB and you're only doing 4 watts, you will notice a difference going from like the cigarette lighter or the wiring up underneath the dash. Run that wiring straight to the battery. All right. So what else did you want to cover here? I mean, you got stickers, you got shirts. I mean, I'm sure you got some paraphernalia that you have to soak people up with when they go out on these adventures with you.
Yeah, I've got a few different sticker designs that I've put up, and everyone that goes on the ride gets a sticker.
Nice.
I had a t-shirt / swag vendor for a little while, and then right after I ordered this hoodie, they ended up like kind of low key just stopping their business, which was really weird. Like,
yeah.
I went to order 2 shirts for one of my Moab trips, and nothing ever happened. They took the money, but then shirts were never printed. And then a bunch of other people were also reporting that their orders weren't getting fulfilled. And it was like 6 months later, I finally called the credit card company and said, "Hey, I need a charge back because this is not happening."
Right.
So then I had to find another t-shirt vendor, which I finally was able to find a decent one this winter. So that's all linked on the website for those shirts.
And that is gofearlessadventures.com. I'll mention that again, and we'll have it on the screen for our YouTube viewers. That I don't think we mentioned it here on the interview. You actually interviewed with Chris out at the Mid-America Off-Road Adventure. Hang on one second. I don't know how the dogs see people walking on the sidewalk outside, because we have no direct view outside.
Our neighbors' dogs are just like that.
I like the videos where somebody goes, it's door-to-door people. I like it whenever somebody will take their dog outside and go, look, there's nobody here. There's nothing here. What are you barking at? I think it's so funny. Dog's like, am I in trouble? Yeah, we're going to be here a second. This guy wants to talk to somebody. You know, going door to door has to be the hardest thing in the world these days. And I'm looking over here to my monitor. I've got 6 monitors here, and this monitor, I have the cameras on it. So I got all angles of the house covered. Not because I'm afraid of anything. I just like to be able to see outside. It's just really cool. I can just look up and see what's going on outside.
Like on this house, the whole one wall doesn't have any windows.
Yeah. Hang on just a second. The little dog barks so much. We have my youngest daughter moved back home after she had purchased a cane Corso. So we have a 70-pound mule living with us now, and she's a lot of fun, both the daughter and the dog, but she's a lot of fun. She's actually getting out of that puppy stage where she bites so much. Ooh, my goodness, that dog would bite hard. So she's finally got to the point now, and I'll mention, without me having to beat her severely, not biting as hard. I just say, ow, and she will immediately like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, she loves to fight. Absolutely loves to fight. Nobody can fight with her but me. Or nobody tries to. I like throwing her around. She's like, whee! All right, let's take a little pause here. Well, I'm sorry, what were we talking about? If you don't remember either, I don't feel so bad.
I don't remember.
That's all right. We'll pause and I'll go another direction.
You were asking about I interviewed with Chris.
That's right.
At the expo.
So as I was saying, you got to meet Chris, and the funny story is everybody thinks that that's me. So they'll say Tony.
Yes, I can see the resemblance.
And it's so funny because Jim Morrison, the guy that used to be in charge of Jeep North America, the EVP of Jeep North America, he met Chris several times, and he thought that was Tony. And I don't care. As long as they remember Jeep Talk Show, and if they remember my name too, that's fine. You know, if the head of Jeep North America knows Jeep Talk Show and Tony, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And I think Chris looks better than me anyway, certainly younger.
Well, I can relate to that because my brothers actually were twins.
Oh, okay.
So whenever we go somewhere, people like, are you brothers?
No,
we just met in the parking lot. What? It's like I just picked them up. I don't know.
It's like, did you ever see the movie Twins? Well, this one worked out more on the cloning aspect, where it was more identical than the movie. It's like I remember coming back from EJS the first year I went, and I had on the Gladiator, I have Jeep Talk Show, big Jeep Talk Show sticker on the side. I mean, 4 foot across, and somebody at the gas station, they came over there and say, is that a radio show? And I said, well, it's a podcast. And he goes, what do y'all talk about? And it says, and it says really, really big Jeep Talk Show. And it's not like fancy letters and stuff. and I'm such a smart ass. I wanted to say, was like, this is a potential listener. Be nice. And I just do a pause. Don't make a face. And he goes, oh, is it about Jeeps? I said, yeah, exactly. Good job.
Yeah,
you know?
that would be a hard one to not get sarcastic. Yes.
So, I mean, all the sarcasm needs to stay right here on the show. All right, Jason, you know how the kids love the social media. I mean, they let Trailhawks on social media, right? They don't just say, no, sorry, you go get a real Jeep and come back.
On some of them, I get a lot of comments on the YouTube videos about, I actually just had one the other day was, well, why don't you get, or you should get an ATV to do that rock climbing. I'm like, if I'm going to go rock climbing, I'm going to get a rope and a harness and some anchors.
Sure.
What are you talking about rock climbing?
I just can't see spending $18,000 to $80,000 for an ATV. I mean, Good God, get an old Jeep if you want to go that direction. Now you got something you can go to Wendy's and get a Frosty and do all the other stuff.
And that was one of the funny things when I first had the Trailhawk out on the trails was people were like, "Oh, why are you taking something so expensive out on the trails?" And I'm like, "That Jeep's more expensive. That Jeep's more expensive.
That's
That Jeep's
right.
more expensive." Like you don't realize how expensive some of these Jeeps are.
Oh God, $60 to $80,000
Oh man.
off the showroom floor.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at the Grand, I even briefly looked at maybe getting one of the new Rubicons, and I was just like sticker shock when I
Hmm.
priced out what I wanted. I was like, nope,
I think they're going to
I'll
do
go look
something
for a
about those
used Grand.
prices. I think they're going to do something. They got a new guy in there, and I think they're going to bring the prices down. We'll see.
They have to.
Yeah, I would rather that they bring the prices down and maybe remove some of the features, get back to basics,
Yes.
than what they've been doing, trying to add features and make it
Yeah,
like,
it
oh,
used to be like a poor man's like, and you could have entry level like cheaper off-roaders, and now they're trying to be like Lexus and Land
luxury
Rover.
vehicles. They
Yeah,
absolutely the last CEO, he was going luxury vehicles. You sell fewer, but you still make the same amount of money. So
yeah.
I can understand that, but don't make my Jeep a luxury vehicle. It's not what I want it for.
Hey, I like my heated and ventilated seats. Okay.
I've heard that. So we were talking about Chris earlier. Chris got a used Gladiator. He's got a 2020 Gladiator, and he's big on not the fancy stuff. And he's up in Michigan, so you know
Hmm.
it gets cold up there.
Oh yeah.
But that used Gladiator that he got has heated steering wheels and heated seats. And now
Hmm.
he's like, oh my God, I love the heated steering wheel. So
We had it as a rental. We had like Dodge Caravan or something had the heated seats, and we were up at Glacier National Park. And then ever since that experience, we're like, every vehicle we get from now on is going to have the heated seats, heated steering wheel, just because we live in a colder part of the climate. Like
yeah,
we have actual winters where we need something.
absolutely. Oh, you know, and I get the sense that you're the same type of person I am, where you like trolling, you like winding people up. If you
Oh
really would
yes,
like to wind people up with your Cherokee, put a snorkel on it.
I well, so my 17. The reason I didn't have that very long was I hit a fish.
Oh no!
So I have a healthy respect for water crossings at
Hmm.
this point. But
Well, you
if
get
I'd
so
had
much hate from people when you put a snorkel on a Jeep. Oh, you know, you can't just put a snorkel on there. You got to hook a bunch of other stuff up, dumbass.
yeah,
And why do you need that? I think a lot of people don't understand the primary purpose of a snorkel isn't water. It's
clean air.
cold air. Yeah, clean cold air. I mean, if you
Yeah,
really want cold air, get it out of the engine bay.
yeah. It- I laugh every time someone's like, "Oh, I got a cold air intake." Like you just put a hot air intake on it.
You just spent $200 on something that isn't a cold air
But
intake.
there aren't so many companies that make them for the Cherokees. There's a
Sure.
couple that make some compatible with the Grand, but I haven't quite done that yet. I don't plan to go through any water that'll go deep enough to need that.
Well, that's the point.
But
You don't plan on it,
yeah,
but it's like having that tool. It's like having a winch. I mean, I think I've pulled. Well, actually, I did pull somebody out, pull somebody with my winch, but mainly did it just because it was new and I wanted to play with it. There was lots of people there with winches. The only thing I really had to use the winch for was to pull a dead rose bush out of the flower bed for my wife, and it worked great.
yeah.
It was very quick. The setup was a little longer than pulling it out. But I just like the idea of getting people tweaked, and I probably shouldn't, but I really enjoy that, and you get a lot of hate and discontent with when you put a snorkel on something.
It has to be done really well. Like at that expo, there was, I don't remember what it was, Toyota or something had a really nice, clean, paint matched, like very clean snorkel that they had on it. And I was like, that, if I'm going to do a snorkel, it's going to look like that. But
So
it
so
was
I
a
got the
process.
one I got the one for the Gladiator that the cowl, it replaces the little side cowl, the little curved piece for
Okay.
the
Yeah.
cowl, and it's black and it's
Hmm.
textured. One of my daughters was able to get me hooked up with the paint body shop at Mercedes, and they literally got it all sanded down and painted. And I gave them the paint code. They got the paint code wrong, so I wound up rattle canning it, and it looks great. It really does. It looks great, but it wouldn't have looked so good unless it had been smooth. So they did a
Yeah.
really good job. So just the cowl piece, is body
Mhm.
color matched, and the rest of it's black. And I like that because it really makes it stand out. And I told Rob this at EJS, Rob with Quadratech. That's what Rob did on his Gladiator, I believe it was. He put that thing on there and had that paint matched gray or whatever it was. Mine's red,
Mhm.
and I like it. It really stands out. And if people look at it, they'll do a double take.
Yeah.
Is that like factory? No, just this is painted, to match the rest of the vehicle. So little things like that make a big difference. I'm sorry. It's so much fun talking to you. We got sidetracked. I was like, how the kids love the social media. Where can they find you on social media?
So I've got Fearless Trailhawk on Instagram, Fearless Adventures on YouTube and on Facebook. The reason my Instagram is Trailhawk is because that's what my social media stuff started out as Fearless Trailhawk, because that was
Sure.
the name of my Cherokee. I was on a trail and someone was like, "Oh, he's fearless," and then it just kind of stuck from there. And so all the YouTube and everything started off as Fearless Trailhawk, and then when I wanted to transition into the trail guide business, I'm like, well, I need something more broad,
Right.
more inclusive. And so I was like, well, Adventures is a good fit. So I've actually got the license plate on the Cherokee is Fearless, and then the license plate on the Grand is Adventures. So it worked out pretty well.
Anybody ever pick a fight with you with the Fearless license plate?
No, not yet. I've had a lot of people like, oh, I really like that. So
Good. I like that. It's a positive thing. Oh, and it's something else real quick. Try to make this short. The male versus female on the Trailhawks when you go on these runs, is it, do you get only females sometimes? Do you get more females, more men? I still think it's more men, but I'm just curious if
it's definitely more men. I've had probably about 20% women drivers, but
that's great.
actually one of the couples that used to come out to like every ride I did, they lived up near Toledo and they'd come all the way down to Chillicothe like anytime I did a ride. She was actually the primary driver.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually came out a few times by herself just because she liked driving so much. So
yeah, they're not any different. They just need a way to go and do it, get started. And I think that's one of the wonderful things that you're doing is you give that confidence. Like, this guy's done it before. I'd like to do it. I don't want to go do it by myself. I don't want to just join a club and do it. I want somebody that's going to take care of me. And it sounds like it's exactly what you do.
Yep.
So if you guys are interested, go to gofearlessadventures.com, learn more. I'm sure you can contact Jason through social media or straight through the site. Jason, thank you very much for being with us here tonight, and good luck on that Trailhawk. And let me know if you go to buy a Bronco or a Wrangler or a Gladiator.
I did put my name on the reservation list for the new Scouts. Those look really nice, so I may pull the trigger on that when the time comes. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting doing things and other things. Oh, did you get a Jeep Talk Show sticker? Or did Chris hand you a Jeep Talk Show sticker?
I got a few, and the kid definitely grabbed a couple too.
Well, I'll just say this, and I know people will say, well, you're just an ass. You're approved, but to put the Jeep Talk Show sticker on your Cherokee Trailhawk.
Alrighty. I will do that.
All right, man. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.